President Trump stated that over 9,000 Americans have returned from the Middle East since Operation Epic Fury was launched. On Tuesday, President Trump announced that more than 9,000 U.S. citizens have safely returned to the United States from the Middle East following the commencement of attacks against Iran, which began the previous weekend. These attacks, conducted jointly by the U.S. and Israel as part of what has been designated Operation Epic Fury, were initiated in the early hours of Saturday, resulting in the death of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. A post on Truth Social, the president urged any American citizens still in the region who wish to return home to register with the State Department. The State Department will locate you and provide travel options, Trump continued. We are currently chartering free flights and booking commercial flights, and we expect these options to increase over time. Department had authorized the departure of all non-emergency government personnel and their families from Israel, according to an updated travel advisory issued a day before the strikes. The advisory stated, in response to security incidents and without advance notice, the U.S. Embassy may further restrict or prohibit U.S. government employees and their family members from traveling to certain areas of Israel, the Old City of Jerusalem, and the West Bank. Individuals should consider departing Israel while commercial flight options remain available. On Monday, the U.S. State Department issued an urgent alert advising Americans to leave the Middle East following retaliatory strikes from Iran. Sec. Rubio at State Dept is urging Americans to leave now via available commercial transportation from the below countries due to heightened safety risks, wrote Maura Namdar, Assistant Secretary of State for Consular Affairs, in a post on social media platform X. Secretary of State Marco Rubio mentioned that the department had authorized the establishment of a 24/7 task force to assist Americans in the region. In a video posted on X on Monday, the Secretary of State addressed affected American citizens directly, sharing resources available to them during the ongoing conflict. Rubio stated, "To all American citizens in the Middle East, your safety and security are our top priority." On Tuesday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and other senior national security officials from the Trump administration briefed senators on the U.S.-Iran conflict amidst increasing questions about the operation's objectives, timeline, and scope. The approximately 80-minute briefing took place against a backdrop of conflicting explanations from the Trump administration regarding the timing and purpose of the joint U.S.-Israeli attacks on Iran, which have been ongoing for over 3 days. These attacks have provoked retaliatory actions from Iran targeting U.S. military bases in the region, Israel, U.S. embassies, and civilian areas such as hotels. The move also comes as both houses of Congress prepare to vote on war powers resolutions aimed at limiting President Trump's authority to continue the military campaign. In addition to briefing senators, Rubio, who also serves as President Trump's national security advisor, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, also briefed House lawmakers. Here are 4 key takeaways from the briefing. On-the-ground troop deployment has not been ruled out. Senators from both parties indicated that the administration has not ruled out the possibility of deploying ground troops to Iran. Senator Roger Wicker, RMS, chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, told reporters that the administration was not taking off the table the option. Following the session, Senator Richard Blumenthal, DCT, also a member of the Armed Services Committee, stated that he was more fearful than ever that we may be drawn into ground combat after this briefing. Some Republicans stated they hoped no ground troops would be sent to Iran, while others said they did not want to eliminate the option. Hopefully that will never happen. Senator Rick Scott, RFL, a member of the Armed Services Committee, told reporters, while also suggesting that he didn't think anyone should take those options off the table. Senator Josh Hawley, RMO, stated he did not want to see troops stationed inside Iran and that it would require congressional authorization. "I didn't hear any anticipation of a ground troop deployment in there," Hawley told reporters. Senator Kevin Cramer, RND, when asked after the briefing whether he would support putting U.S. troops on the ground, stated, "Not at this time, but depending on what happens in the future, I'm not going to take any of my options off the table. Each situation requires intelligence appropriate to the circumstance and the moment, but it certainly isn't desired," he told reporters. difficulties defending against drones. Several Democrats stated that Trump administration officials informed lawmakers that more U.S. troops are expected to die in the conflict, and at least one Democrat mentioned that during the briefing there was discussion regarding U.S. defense systems experiencing some difficulty shooting down Iranian drones. "This is as serious as it gets. This is war and peace. They told us in that room that more Americans are going to die," Senator Chris Murphy, DCT, told reporters following the briefing. "They are not going to be able to stop these drones. They are going to continue to fly into the Middle East," he said. "We need to have a debate in the United States Senate about the authorization of military force." 6 U.S. service members have died since the conflict began last weekend. Other lawmakers suggested that the U.S. military appeared well prepared for the current situation. Senator Tim Sheehy, RMT, a member of the Armed Services Committee, stated that he did not believe the administration had underestimated Iran's military capabilities and that the U.S. government was following all procedures to evacuate American citizens from the region. "I think we're pretty thoroughly tracking contingencies," he said. Concerns about inventory levels. As the U.S. campaign against Iran expands, concerns over U.S. weapons stockpiles have also grown. The U.S. military has struck over 1,700 targets in Iran and utilized Patriot interceptor missiles and THAAD, terminal high-altitude area defense, ballistic missile defense systems to shoot down Iranian drones and missiles. Several lawmakers mentioned that the state of current stockpiles was raised during the briefing. "I want to be cautious about what I say here. Because it was a classified briefing, I'll just say that that issue was raised, and the administration had a response to it," Hawley told reporters. When asked if he was concerned about munition stockpiles, Sheehy responded, "From a tactical perspective, no. From a strategic perspective, absolutely. As you've heard me say many times, I always advocate for expanding our capacity to produce munitions so that we are focused more on quantity as opposed to just quality." Senator Tim Kaine, DVA, stated that concerns surrounding munitions were a real issue that the U.S. military would have to pay attention to. "Weapons, both offensive and defensive systems, and they're managing it," he told reporters. "I mean, they know their stocks and their capacity, and they're running a supplementary campaign. It's a supplementary campaign, and that's all I'm going to say." Democrats are still confused about Trump's plan for Iran. Democratic members left the briefing arguing that the administration did not have a coherent plan for Iran and that Trump should seek congressional authorization for the campaign. There are times when you attend a classified briefing and you leave with a greater sense of the gravity of the situation and the rationale behind military action. But this was not one of those cases. We are as confused as the American people are. Senator Brian Schatz, D. Hawaii, told reporters. They've offered 3, 4, or 5 justifications for this act of war over the last 4 or 5 days, and nothing in this classified briefing lessened that confusion, he stated. Senator Kaine said Tuesday's classified briefing was better than some previous briefings the administration had held, stating that about 15 senators from both parties had an opportunity to ask questions. Senator Elizabeth Warren, DMA, also a member of the Armed Services Committee, stated that the U.S. government had no plan regarding Iran. "It's much worse than you think. You're right to be worried," Warren said in a video posted on social media platform X. He described the campaign as the most consequential military action this country has undertaken since the Iraq War. "It is much bigger and will be much bigger than Libya," he told reporters. Trump posts photo of Councilmember Mamdani with the Declaration of Independence in the Oval Office. On Tuesday, President Trump shared a photo of New York City Councilmember Zohran Mamdani, D., standing next to the Declaration of Independence in the Oval Office, the latest development in the pair's peculiar relationship. Trump posted the photo of Mamdani smiling gently next to the framed copy of the U.S. founding document on his Truth Social platform. The president added, "Zohran is making tremendous progress in embracing, of course, the Declaration of Independence while in the Oval Office, a big step forward." The photo was taken on Thursday when Mamdani met with Trump at the White House to discuss a housing project in their shared home city. It was the second meeting between the two since the council members' election in November. During the meeting on Thursday, Mamdani proposed a $21 billion plan to build 12,000 units of housing in Queens, the borough he used to represent in the New York State Assembly and where the president was born. Gotham Council member also gifted Trump a copy of a 1975 New York Daily News front page with the headline, "Gerald Ford to City, Drop Dead." He paired it with a mock Daily News cover featuring the president's face and the headline, "Trump to City, Let's Build." "I had a productive meeting with President Trump this afternoon," Mamdani wrote on social media platform X, alongside a photo of him and the president, who was holding the newspaper front pages and beaming. "I look forward to building more housing in New York City," he added. Later that day, Mamdani wrote on X that the president informed him over the phone that Immigration and Customs Enforcement would release Columbia University student Elmina Agayeva after the council member raised the issue during their meeting. However, the friendly in-person relationship between the two has not prevented Trump and Mamdani from criticizing each other. During last Tuesday's State of the Union address, Trump falsely accused the Democratic Socialist Council member of being a communist. "I think he's a fine person. I actually speak to him often," the president remarked. "Bad policy, but a fine person." Meanwhile, Mamdani condemned the initial U.S. and Israeli attacks on Iran last Saturday as a catastrophic escalation in an illegal war of aggression. "Bombing cities, slaughtering civilians," the council member wrote on X. "Opening a new theater of war. Americans don't want this. They don't want another regime change war. They want relief from the affordability crisis. They want peace." Canadian PM Carney says U.S.-Israeli strikes in Iran mark failure of the international order. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney on Tuesday expressed his regret over the failure of the international order that led to the ongoing U.S. and Israeli attacks on Iran. Speaking in Sydney, Australia, Carney stated that his country has long viewed Iran as a primary source of instability and terror in the Middle East. However, the Canadian PM noted that despite more than 2 decades of negotiations and diplomatic efforts, Iran has neither dismantled its nuclear program nor ceased its uranium enrichment activities. "Canada stands with the Iranian people in their long and courageous struggle against an oppressive regime," Carney added. "That's why we support efforts to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons and to stop its regime from continuing to threaten international peace and security, because Canada is actively confronting the world as it is, rather than passively waiting for a world as we wish it to be. However, we take no joy in making this point, because the current conflict is yet another example of the failure of the international order." Israel began attacks on Iran on Saturday, killing Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and several other senior political and military leaders in the Middle Eastern nation. According to the Iranian Red Crescent, as of 4:10 a.m. ET, more than 7 Al-Tarsidi Iranians have been killed in the attacks, and retaliation from Iran and its proxy forces has plunged the region into conflict. The coordinated operations followed discussions between U.S. and Iranian negotiators, mediated by Oman, on Thursday regarding containing Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile development programs. During his speech on Tuesday, Carney noted that despite decades of UN Security Council resolutions, the tireless work of the International Atomic Energy Agency, and a litany of sanctions and diplomatic frameworks, the nuclear threat from Iran has persisted. Had previously reached an agreement to limit Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief under the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. However, President Trump withdrew the U.S. from the deal during his first term in office. Now that the conflict has begun, Carney called for a rapid de-escalation of the conflict and a commitment to a more comprehensive political solution. The United States and Israel have now acted without UN involvement or consultation with allies, including Canada, he added. Diplomatic engagement is essential to avert a broader and deeper conflict. Innocent civilians must be protected, and all parties must commit to pursuing lasting agreements to end both nuclear proliferation and terrorist extremism. The tense developments surrounding Iran and the Middle East are drawing global attention. What do you think will happen next? Leave your comments, like, and share the article to stay updated on the latest news.